Hello and welcome back to freeCodeCamp's basic CSS section, Size Your Images. It says CSS has a property called width that controls an element's width. Just like with fonts, we'll use pixels to specify the image's width. For example, if you wanted to create a CSS class called larger image that gave HTML elements a width of 500 pixels, we'd use, here's our style tag. We would specify the class called larger image, and anything with that class would get a width of 500 pixels. So create a class called smaller image and use it to resize the images so that it's only 100 pixels wide. Note, due to browser implementation differences, you may need to be at 100% zoom to pass the test on this page. So zoom out, go into our style tag here, and we're going to do a class called smaller image, and we're going to do width and set it to 100 pixels. So we zoom out, we want to make sure we're at 100% browser zoom. So we're at 100. Let's run that. Oh, we forgot. We also need to resize the image. So we created the smaller image, and now we're going to look for our image tag, which is here. We're going to give it a class of smaller image. And there we see it. It's 100 widths. It's 100 pixels wide now. Zoom out, run test. We did pass. So add borders around your elements. CSS borders have properties like style, color, and width. For example, if you wanted to create a red 5-pixel border around an HTML element, we could use this class. Thin red border, again, you could call it whatever you want. They decided to call it what it is, and it gives a border color of red, a border width of 5 pixels, and a border style of solid. So create a class called thick green border. This class should add a 10-pixel solid green border around an HTML element. Apply the class to your cat photo. So here we'll do dot thick green border, and that should allow us to do border color green, border width 10 pixels, border style solid. Zoom out. We still need to apply it to our cat photo. Here we have smaller image, and inside there we can add thick green border, and we do have a thick green border. We could add that class same to something over here like this paragraph. Let us do that. Class thick green border. We now have our paragraph with a thick green border. Zoom out, run test. We did pass. Add rounded corners with border radius. Your cat photo currently has sharp corners. We can round out these corners with a CSS property called border radius. You can specify border radius with pixels. Give your cat photo a border radius of 10 pixels. Note, this challenge allows for multiple possible solutions. For example, you may add border radius to either the thick green border class or the small image class. So thick green border, give it a border radius 10 pixels. So thick green border is now rounded, as we can see here. So border radius allows us to round out those corners. Run test. We did pass. Make circular images with a border radius. In addition to pixels, you can also specify the border radius using a percentage. Give your cat photo a border radius of 50%. So let's go back here, go into that image, give it a, and then now we have a circle that says 50%. So let's change it to 50. Oops, wrong one. Let's run test. We did pass. Give a background color to a div element You can set an element's background color with the background color property. For example, if you wanted an element's background color to be green, you'd put this within your style element, dot green background, and then we give it background color of green. So we would just give whatever element we wanted to have a green background this class. So create a class called silver background with the background color of silver. Assign this class to your div element. So we go here, there, create a silver background, do a background color silver, and then give that to our div element, which is here. We'd go here and do class equals silver background, zoom out, we got the silver background, run test, we did pass, we got set the ID of an element. In addition to classes, each HTML element can also have an ID attribute. There are several benefits to using ID attributes. You can use an ID to style a single element, and later you'll learn that you can use them to select and modify specific elements with JavaScript. ID attributes should be unique. Browsers won't enforce this, but it is widely agreed upon best practice. So please don't give more than one element the same ID attribute. Here's an example of how you can give your H2 element the ID of cat photo app. We have H2 ID cat photo app. Give your form element the ID cat photo form. So our form is here. We're giving it an ID of cat photo form. So it's asking, but this works the same as the class, except when we want to select it up here in our style, instead of doing dot for classes, we do hash symbol. So we gave that form the name cat photo form. We would do the same thing here, even though it's not asking us to do this. It did change the form thingies to purple. So I kind of went ahead of myself, but just so you guys aren't wondering why we wouldn't have an ID, let's run that test. We did a pass. So use an ID attribute to style an element. That's basically what we just did, but let's see. One cool thing about ID attributes is that, like classes, you can style them using CSS. However, an ID is not reusable and should only be applied to one element. An ID is also a higher specificity important than a class, so if both are applied to the same element and have conflicting styles, the style of the ID will be applied. Here's an example of how you can take your element with the ID attribute of cat photo element and give it the background color of green in your style element. We have this ID cat photo element and we're doing background color of green. So anything with that ID will get the background color of green. Note that inside your style element, you always reference classes by putting a dot in front of their names. You always reference IDs by putting a hash symbol in front of their names. Try giving your form, which now has the ID attribute of cat photo form, a green background. So if we go down here, we'll see that our form now has cat photo form, which is what we added. And we're doing exactly what it said by up here, selecting cat photo form and doing a background color green. Zoom out and we see background color of green. Run test. We did pass. So now let's adjust the padding of an element. It says now let's put your cat photo app away for a little while and learn more about styling HTML. You may have already noticed this, but all HTML elements are essentially little rectangles. Three important properties control the space that surrounds each HTML element: padding, margin, and border. An element's padding controls the amount of space between the element's content and its border. Here you can see that the blue box and the red box are nested within the yellow box. Note that the red box has more padding than the blue box. More padding here than the blue box. They're all inside the yellow box. Note that the red box, when you increase the blue box's padding, it will increase the distance or padding between the text and the border around it. Change the padding of your blue box to match that of your red box. Go here. The padding should match that of the red box. So we do 20. Changed it. Now they're the same. Run test. We passed. Adjust the margin of an element. An element's margin controls the amount of space between an element's border and surrounding elements. Here we can see that the blue box and red box are nested within the yellow box. Note that the red box has a bigger margin than the blue box, making it appear smaller. When you increase the blue box margin, it will increase the distance between its border and surrounding elements. Change the margin of the blue box to match that of the red box. Go here, margin is 20, so we'll change this to 20, and see this changed, which controls the amount of space between an element's border and surrounding elements. So this is the border, and this is the surrounding element. Run test. Add a negative margin to an element. An element's margin controls the amount of space between an element's border and surrounding elements. If you set an element's margin to a negative value, the element will grow larger. Try to set the margin to a negative value like the one for the red box. Change the margin of the blue box to negative 15 so it fills the entire horizontal width of the yellow box around it. So we're in our blue box here. We're changing the margin to negative 15. And it filled the yellow box around it. Run this. We did pass. So now add different padding to each side of an element. Sometimes you will want to customize an element so that it has different amounts of padding on each of its sides. CSS allows you to control the padding of all 4 individual sides of an element with the padding top, padding right, padding bottom, and padding left. Give the blue box a padding of 40 pixels on its top and left side, but only 20 pixels on its bottom and right side. So inside of our blue box, we're doing padding top 40 pixels, padding bottom 40 pixels, padding right, padding left, it's 20. Yep, actually top and left is 40. Top and left is 40. This will be 20. This will be 20. Padding top and padding left, and there we go. So let's not forget these semicolons. Let's run that test. We did a pass. We'll probably finish it with this one for this video. This is add different margins to each side of an element. It says sometimes you will want to customize an element so that it has a different margin on each of its sides. CSS allows you to control the margin of all 4 individual sides of an element with the margin top, margin right, margin bottom, and margin left properties. Give the blue box a margin of 40 pixels on its top and left, but only 20 pixels on its bottom and right side. Back to our blue box. Do a margin top 40 pixels. Would be nice to see this all happening, right? Margin top, margin left 40 pixels, margin right 20 pixels, margin bottom 20 pixels. And we did see that nicely change. Run test. We did pass. So let us come over here and might as well practice some of those things. Kind of forgot all of them already, but first let's go into our best page ever. I mean, all I really remember is the ID. Let's do an ID top div. So we'll go into our body and I'm going to just create a div, give it an ID of top div, and then this div will go around the H1 and the P, but it won't go around the UL. So we'll end it there. Save this, come over here, and we see it was applied here. We can do the padding thing. Let's give our top div a width of 500 pixels. Let's give it a padding. So we learned padding left, right, top, bottom, but you could just say padding and specify the top, right, bottom. What this does, 500 pixels. I think we could even align that center if we wanted. Text align, center, save, centered some stuff. We did 50% margin, auto 0. You guys could look up a bunch of this stuff, but really, I mean, the concept is simple. There's a bunch of elements we have access to. We could style them by using either their element name, whether it's H2, H1, P element, form element, and then style those type of elements, or you can assign classes and IDs. And we also learned about borders, so we could do a border here. Same thing, we learned like border top, border left, and whatnot, but you could just do, I think it's 20 pixels solid green. Can't really think of anything else. We kind of like went through this one pretty fast, but I'm gonna go ahead and end this here. If you found this helpful, make sure to share, like, and subscribe. Just continue practicing the stuff we've been learning with HTML and CSS. Practice different types of fake pages you want to make, and just move stuff around. Don't be afraid to break anything. That's part of the adventure of learning. See elements and find out what those elements are and backwards engineer things. But as long as you're getting this material, you'll be able to take this and solve bigger problems. Just continue practicing, and I'll see you guys in the next videos.